And you're welcome to another edition of New Sports Outlaws podcast. As always, I am Neil, and this is Dan. Dan, we are in the thick of the one sport season. I get that the NBA finals are just finishing up, but we're in New York. No one cares. NHL Stanley Cup finished last night. No one cares. We are worried about the Yankees on fire. We are worried about the Mets. I mean, not really worried, but talking about the Mets on fire. And we're talking about the look forward to football. Dan, how are you?
Yeah, so we're talking about, you mentioned the Stanley Cup and the 5 seconds. We'll talk about it right now. And the players from Sunrise, Florida, the Florida Panthers got their back-to-back Stanley Cup. And just imagine, I know they were talking about on the radio today, if anyone in New York ever went back-to-back or at least one championship, for the millions of fans in New York and not the 15 fans in Sunrise, Florida. But yeah, right now we're kind of, NBA draft is next week and free agency is after that, which I'm excited for. I love NBA free agency. But we're kind of into one sport right now because, like you said, nobody cares about the finals, at least around here. And it's not looking good for New York right now. New York baseball is kind of in the gutter right now. And let's get started.
Yep. The Yankees are a dumpster fire, and the New York Metropolitans aren't far behind them. The Yankees, until they scored a run today, went 30 consecutive innings without scoring a run. When Judge goes in the tank, the team follows. And listen, I'm not bashing Judge. I'm not one of those idiot Yankee fans who would say you got to boo Judge. He's down to 370, but he's had a rough last 5, 6 games, and the team has followed suit. 5 runs in the last 6 games, only 11 runs in the last 7. Doesn't sound like the Bronx Bombers that I know.
Now, and knowing how much we were ahead in runs category in the American League, we are still the first place in runs in the American League after whatever you just said, like 6 runs or 7 runs in 5 games, or something like that. And yeah, and it really obviously hasn't looked good for anybody. There's not a soul except for maybe Giancarlo Stanton, who just came off the IL, and I believe his first 2 games went 3 for 7, which obviously is a good bright spot, at least begin his comeback. Yeah, doesn't look great right now. Right now we are tied 2-2 with the Angels, and we have 2 runs on 2 hits. So I mean, we're making this guy again look really a lot better than he is. Hopefully, we get some hits, get some base runners. I think we've only had one base runner. I think that was off a walk. I believe also it wasn't even a hit. I believe it was a walk. Yeah, no, it's a struggle right now, especially for Judge. I mean, this is, and I kind of hate to say this, but this is really kind of where you see the effects of losing like a Juan Soto, because when Judge went into his sometimes little slumps like they did in August last year, where they pretty much gave up the lead in the AL East, Juan Soto was always at least getting on base. He was that guy to at least help Judge. We're kind of waiting for maybe a Bellinger or a Goldschmidt or someone else to come, and nobody's coming to help because you knew Judge was going to go into a slump eventually. We've said this all year. He's not batting 380, 390 all year, 400. So he's definitely going to go into something, especially with his power hitting. But he's still leading the American League and everything. But it's just, yeah, like you said, it's bad. It's all bad. There's bad. There's no, not besides the pitching, obviously, I guess. The pitching's, I guess, kept us in all the games. But it's just been, it's been really bad right now. And we just got to get through it. I'm not worried yet. I think it's way too early to start talking division leads. I know they're on the radio, especially, they're talking about division leads. Like Tampa's at 2 games back, and Boston's at 5 games back, and Toronto, I think, is in between at 3 or 4. I'm not worried about divisions yet. I think it's a little early. I think we got July 4th in the trade deadline, maybe even the trade deadline to start worrying about division. Actually, I guess maybe July 4th is more like it. But yeah, we've got to somehow hit our way out of it. I mean, there's really not knowing what you could do where it's baseball. This is what happens. Now I know for the Yankees, maybe not this bad, but it happens. Am I worried that it's against the Angels? Maybe, because I mean their pitching is just absolutely hard, especially the last 2 days where they had Kyle Hendricks looking like Greg Maddux out there, and this other guy whose last name begins with a K, whoever, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. He has, I think, as you said, we were talking 7 strikeouts, and it's like a career high in strikeouts. So we're still going through the struggle. We have a couple runs, hopefully soon, though. We start to get out of it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a caller on WFAN says yesterday, and then surprisingly enough, I saw it online. So maybe he got it from online, even though Evan and Tiki tried to give him credit for coming up with this. The Boone June swoon. The Yankees in the last couple years under Aaron Boone have been either 500 or worse during the month of June after getting off the hot starts. The Yankees right now are batting 233 in the month. Like we said before, they went 30 innings without scoring a run. They're 7-8 in the month of June so far, and yeah, their big lead to start with has given them a little cushion. Yeah, it's too early for division talk, but I guarantee you the fan base is already pretty pissed off about what's going on would be irate if maybe the Yankees were a couple games worse in April and May, and then you had this June, it'd be a little worse. So I think that it's giving them a little bit of flexibility with how well they started. They had a players only meeting apparently, uh, either last night or today. That was reported on the radio today. So we will see what happens. I think the pitching has been the only bright spot, and Giancarlo back looks like hasn't missed a beat. I'm glad that he can't DH 3 games in a row. The Yankees are scared to overuse him. Give me a break.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I kind of don't blame him just because you guys know what all it takes is one time to
It's
go around the
DH.
bases.
It's DH.
He can, and he will. But like the last thing you want to see is against the Angels, a season-ending injury in the middle of June against the Angels. I mean,
I don't blame. I don't blame G. I don't blame G. This is the Yankees analytics. So we gotta
oh
get
no, I'm not blaming
a
G. I'm
better.
not, but I'm not. I'm not against it. I know he's not wants to sit out. I'm sure he wants to play. At least I don't think he would want to play every day. But we know he's he's what we need him for. Um, Before we get on, I know we're going to move on in a second, but one thing that we can't happen as for Yankees fans, as hasn't really happened in the Angels series as much. Actually, it happened in the very first game. Base running errors, base running blunders. We've kind of had a couple of those lately, especially during the Red Sox series where they swept us out of Yankee Stadium. Actually, no, it was in Boston. Sorry, this time it was in Boston. But between Jason Dominguez forgetting how many strikes there were in that game, or how many outs there were in the game, strikes. Um, Anthony Volpe, I wasn't too much against it, but he basically got in that extra innings where he got thrown out at third with no outs when he was trying to steal, which is all right. But the base running blunders is something that definitely can't happen. The hitting is one thing; it's a mental thing, and hopefully, obviously, we get through it. But the base running stuff, where we're just kind of not thinking, that really just can't happen. So that's the last thing I want to say about it.
Yeah, well, going from one team who can't get out of their own way to another team get out of their own way. The Mets are losing again tonight. The Mets are struggling. The Braves and Atlanta specifically is a house of horrors. Uh, Outside that game 161 or 162, whatever game that was that the Mets won last year, over the last decade or so, the Braves have owned them, especially there. They've had 4 losses in a row, and 2 or 3 of them were really like kind of like they should have this, they should win this, and then they lose it. So the Mets, although in a little better situation because the Phillies seem to suck, and the Braves are still climbing out of the huge hole they dug themselves. The Mets are struggling pretty mightily themselves.
Yeah, it's a little important stretch for them, a little mini important stretch for the Mets because they have starting yesterday. They have the Mets for their 3, then they have the Phillies for 3, and then they're back for Atlanta for 4. So it's a little bit of an important spot for them considering they just got swept by the Rays, kind of like the Yankees got swept over the past weekend, and like you said, it's the Braves have been a house of horrors. That's kind of perfectly put. And just when you thought yesterday they were winning 4-1, going to the eighth inning, we thought all right, they were firmly in control. David Peterson, the Mets pitcher, was pitching lights out, and he did come out for the eighth inning, but they blew the lead on. I mean, and then lost in extra innings and a nice little base running blunder of his own by Juan Soto, which was, I'm sure every Yankee fans put a smile on their face for a little bit, while their own team is in misery. So yeah, no, it's a little poor stretch right now. They're down right now to Chris Sale and the Braves. It's 4-0 in the fifth inning. So they're going through it a little bit. I mean, they're looking at loss number 5. Again, their division, I'm just looking at the division really quick. I don't think they're as worried. I think the Phillies are a few back. And the Phillies are 2 back as of at this moment. So I guess they could be 1. I think Philly's up right now, so they could be 1 back. I keep an eye, so I can't say for the Yankees, I can't worry about the division when I'm talking about the Mets in the division. So I can't say that. I can't say that yet. But it's one of those things how the Yankees and the Red Sox, how the Red Sox were far behind the Yankees before 2 weeks ago. And it was our chance to kind of step on their throat a little bit. And obviously the Yankees didn't capitalize. They lost 5 out of 6 to the Red Sox. Same thing kind of with the Mets and the Braves, where the Mets have a chance to at least step on the throat a little bit of the Braves because the Braves have been underachieving. And so far, they haven't. So they're going through the struggles too. Maybe not the hitting struggles as much as the Yankees are going through, but they're going through struggles again. Yeah, and Juan Soto does look a little better for them. I believe he's batted 400 over the past 10 games, which is kind of what we sort of somewhat expected to see after a while, but he's still at the 250 mark. But yeah, look, the Mets bullpen is kind of getting exposed a little bit. I know they were really good at the beginning of the year. Griffin Canning was really good at the beginning of the year. He's gotten hit a little bit along with Tyler McGill. So it looks like they gotta, kind of maybe gotta refresh the pitching lab that they got over there and start getting back in the lab a little bit.
Yeah, I like what smack they talk that they're going to fix Frankie Montas. I feel like last I heard, Frankie Montas
Did you see what he did in the minor league start? Did you hear about what he did in the minor league start?
was in the minors. That's all
It
I
was
was.
like 8. It was like 8. No, it was like 8 earned runs, like
Huh.
in an inning or something or 2. It was like I was like, oh my god.
Maybe they need to actually bring him to the major leagues before the pitching lab can actually get their hands in
Maybe it
on.
doesn't affect the minor leagues. Maybe they're not able to get on the minor
Yeah.
leagues.
So all right, so let's see if we can get this transition I'm working with today. This show motto, if you will. Yankees dumpster fire. The Mets are currently on fire. Let's go to another situation that's on fire. The New York Knicks coaching situation is on fire because it seems like the Knicks, when we talked last, have reached out to every coach that's under contract, maybe except for Doc Rivers, like we joked about last time. And no one wants to give permission for their coach to talk to the Knicks. And it looks like your final 2 candidates, unless there's a dark horse somewhere, are Mike Brown and Taylor Jenkins, the ex Memphis coach.
Yeah, I, I think a lot of radio personalities, not a lot, we'll say a few radio personalities, because we've taken our shots at the Knicks brass, and I saw as some radio personalities. But now I'm hearing all of a sudden this is kind of a common thing now that it's like that all teams reach out to other teams for if their coach is available, which I've never heard of before. I feel like we would have heard more of that being held because I think we talked about it last week. This is like the first time like we've heard this at least publicized or on the being got on the media and all that stuff and social media. And what I want to ask you because you said that they're interviewing Taylor Jenkins and Mike Brown for their position. Is there out of all the coaches that have jobs, wouldn't you say that Taylor Jenkins is probably the best one that they out of the names that you heard? Would you
I
say that?
I mean, from what I heard from Memphis, Originally what came out was Ja didn't like him. I actually thought that was a plus in his column because Ja is a psychopath who loves playing with guns no matter how much they tell him we want you to be the face of the NBA, and he can't stop playing with guns and acting like he's a gangster. So like if Ja didn't like him, I actually think that's a plus in my book.
Good luck.
But listen, you're gonna try to nickel and dime me here. I'm gonna tell you that I put him on the same page as I put Jason Kidd. I put him on the same page as some of the other coaches. I thought Mike Malone was a little bit above both of them. He has a championship. He has coached a star. So I kind of put Michael Malone before them, but we have all seen that he's not an option. So I feel like a lot of these coaches that they've talked to, there's been no, oh, he is much better than all the rest. I think Taylor's on the same page. I know you don't like Jason Kidd, but I feel like he's had some success in some places, and he showed he can coach personalities in his stints as head coach in certain places. And the Knicks were close to hiring him when they hired Thibodeau last time. It was him and Thibodeau. They went with Thibodeau. But I don't know. I guess
Uh,
Mike Brown too. Mike Brown had some success in Cleveland too. So I guess I'm
but
okay with
so my,
one.
my my point for the question is because out of the coaches that we heard Jason Kidd, we've heard the Finch from the Timberwolves, we've heard the guy from I'm trying to think of the team that we heard from, but basically Taylor Jenkins and I guess we could put Mike Brown are on the same level as these coaches. There wasn't like some spectacular coach. Maybe Spoelstra who was out there, but that it seemed like there wasn't really any mutual interest with that. But Taylor Jenkins and Mike Malone are are free. They're free agents. So I don't and if they're on the same level, like I don't know if they were just kind of I don't understand the point of reaching out to those other coaches unless they thought they were so much better than Taylor Jenkins and I mean, Mike Brown maybe a little on the lower scale end, but Taylor Jenkins, they had 44 wins before they fired him in like February or March. They were well on their way to the playoffs. And obviously, Mike Malone, they were a top four seed and before whatever happened, whatever in the locker room. I mean, the one thing I heard with Mike Malone is just that he's kind of a lot like Tibbs, I guess. That's what I heard. But again, a lot like Tibbs, but Mike Malone won a championship. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, and that's the whole thing of why you kind of fired Tibbs because he couldn't bring you to the next level, even though you got to the next level this year. Anyway, but yeah, I think Taylor Jenkins would be a good hire. I think he'd be good, but I think they may have to placate a little bit because of the whole thing with Brunson's dad, and they're looking for a certain person to go in there. That's why I still think the Johnny Bryants of the world are still high up there for the head coach.
Yeah, I mean, if your point was why did they reach out to all these other coaches? These guys look like they're just as good. Maybe they always knew, like, hey, Mike Brown's a free agent, Mike Mullins a free agent, Taylor Jenkins is a free agent. We can talk to them at any time. We listen. I know I'm a Nick fan, but there's no spots open right now. I mean, the Knicks are the best. We're even in the beginning of the coaching hiring season, they were the best option available for any coach. So maybe they figured, hey, there's no need to rush. Let's give a call out to all these other candidates. I really think the Jason Kidd thing, even if Jason Kidd is even to Taylor Jenkins, the Knicks um had a connection with him because they almost hired him before. I think that's where that all went. And maybe the rumors are true. They thought he really liked Giannis and thought that could help them. And Trent Grisham, thank you for another base running blunder. What a moron!
It was going to be an out. I think it was going to be an out anyway, but at least he would have got to second, though. He was probably going to get to second. His
Yeah, and
toe, that was
it
off
was
the cleat.
out at first, and
That
he
was
would have
right
been
off the cleat.
lead
That was
runner
right off the
on
cleat.
base. Anyway, the Yankees can't get out of their own way. Okay, so Yankees dumpster fire, Mets dumpster fire, Nick coaching spot a dumpster fire. Let's go to a team that's trying to put out the fire. Looks like they're trying to turn around from the fire to an extinguished fire. Are there any rumors? Have you heard anything about what the Brooklyn Nets are looking to do in the draft next?
They're trying to move up. I've heard them that they should be in, especially in all those superstars that are maybe want out between the Giannis, Kevin Durant, um, even maybe some people on the Grizzlies after they had their little blockbuster trade with Orlando when they got 4 first-round picks for Desmond Bain. There's a lot of and the Nets, like you kind of signaled, they have the cap space and they could take on the big contract a little bit, but obviously they're going to want draft compensation. And I do think this draft, though, they are looking up for maybe another lottery pick or top. I've heard in between, not even including their 8th pick, going from like their 9th, maybe like take one of their later picks and kind of pairing it to get like, I mean, I know there's other players, but like Paul George, for example, has been out there between the number 2 pick, the number 3 pick, and I wouldn't be surprised if they can get it. I mean, they're pretty much in a lot of. I think next week when the NBA Finals, well, I think NBA Finals might probably be over by tomorrow. Actually, tonight they play tonight. That we're gonna hear a lot of with the Nets. I think. Tomorrow is it tomorrow? They play tomorrow. Is it Thursday? Is it Thursday? Okay. But I think the NBA Finals will be over this week, and I think we're gonna hear a lot with the Nets in there in terms of being that third team because they're really the only team. I think they're the only team, literally, with cap space, and they'll be able to take on some of those contracts, especially what you hear with the Kevin Durant sweepstakes between a few teams. So they're going to be involved, and it's going to be between next week and the week after. We're going to be doing a lot of Nets talk. Maybe we kind of shift over some of that Knicks talk. Maybe take about 2 minutes away from the Knicks talk. Do the Knicks even have a draft pick? Oh no, the Nets do. It doesn't even matter. So then the Nets, we can move over maybe to instead of 30 seconds on the Nets that we just wasted now, we could do like 2 minutes or 3 minutes on the Nets. It would be like amazing.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll move up to a minute and then we'll see how that goes. But
Looks great.
yeah, unfortunately, I wish there was better news across the New York sports landscape, but this is what we have to work with. And Dan, I am going to finish off our podcast this week. I want to play a little game with you. We're going to get more and more into the fantasy season. For us two teachers, the school year is over or ending. And we are going to start our summer ritual by starting to focus on football in general and more specifically fantasy football. I have a little game for you to play. Trade, bench, or start. Trade, bench, or start. Kind of like F, marry, kill. And we're going to play that game here. So who would you trade? Who would you bench? And who would you start? So you're keeping the bench and the start, you're keeping the trade guy you're getting off your team. Okay. So let's start
Yeah.
first with the heavy hitters at quarterback. This is just fantasy wise, not building a franchise. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Jaden Daniels.
I mean, at this point, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have pretty much been fantasy stalwarts. And as much as Jaden Daniels is on the come up, you got to trade Jaden Daniels right now. Josh Allen was just a league MVP. But Lamar Jackson, I know, put up crazy numbers last year. But because literally the whole offense, I mean, at least Lamar Jackson had like Derrick Henry to at least feed a little bit that kind of took some of his numbers away. It was Josh Allen's offense. I am starting Josh Allen, and I am benching Lamar Jackson, and I'll trade Jaden Daniels.
Good. Okay. I got another quarterback one for you, and this one's gonna hit home just a little bit.
I'm trading Aaron. I'm trading Aaron Rodgers. All right. Anyway, go. Sorry.
I already knew that would be the
We're
case.
not getting there. Okay. All
Here,
right.
how
Go.
about this one? Drake May, Dak Prescott, and Jordan Love.
All right. Drake May had a pretty good second half of the year last year. He was all right. He's on the come up a little bit. Dak, you're gonna make me do this with Dak. That's a tough one. I like that one though. I am going to. It's for this year or just in general. Like for this
Just
year, would I project?
just fantasy.
like for this year, like would I project this year or just in general?
Who do
All
you
right,
think?
for this year, okay. Um, I think Dak's gonna have a comeback year. If he's gonna start week 1, I think he can have a good year. With the addition of Pickens to the team, so we have Lamb and Pickens on the team now, along with Jake Ferguson and a couple of nice little dump down running back and Javonte Williams. So I'm actually going to. Jordan Love's a tough one though. I'll start Jordan Love. I will bench Dak Prescott. I will trade Drake May.
I, I mean, the reason I included Drake May into that conversation with those two veterans is that Drake May brings a lot to the table when it comes to running the ball fantasy wise. And last year he got in the game and he had fantasy games where he was relevant and they didn't do much on offense because he gets yards on the ground with his legs. And if he can throw a touchdown, those points start to add up. Dan, I'll do one more for today. We'll finish up with one more. Let's go with I think the veteran room, when you make the turn, I've been looking at some mocks. When you make the turn into the second or third round here, or late first round, maybe mid to early to mid second round, CMC, Jonathan Taylor, and Josh Jacobs. Trade bench.
I know Josh Jacobs had a huge year last year, because he was healthy for the most part. But when healthy, Christian McCaffrey is by far. I don't say by far because you got Saquon Barkley, but CMC is still a top 2 to 3 running back. If you want to put, I mean, it's tough now because obviously Jameer Gibbs had a huge year last year. Bijan Robinson is obviously on the come up this year. They're not in there. I won't say top anything. CMC is still a top running back in this league when he's healthy, especially with his catch ability. So, and I know Jonathan Taylor was good too, but I'm going to put CMC. I am going to start Christian McCaffrey. I am going to bench Jonathan Taylor. Josh Jacobs is a little on the older side. I believe he's 31 this year, I want to say. So he's eventually got to come down. I'll bench Josh Jacobs.
So I figured I'd give you three guys that have had prominent years, but all have issues with being injured. All probably have seen their better day, but all are going to start for their teams this year unless there's an injury in camp. Dan, I'm going to keep some of the other options I had for you for the next podcast. I'll probably try to do like 2 or 3 of those every podcast as we lead ourselves up into the fantasy season.
All right, yeah, no, it's good. We're definitely going to get a lot more into fantasy. It's a lot more of the mocks. I'm sure you'll be doing a lot more mocks now that the school year is pretty much over. So next week we have NBA draft actually next Wednesday. So the draft will be going on. So I can live tell you the number 8 pick for your 5 fans and the Brooklyn Nets. And we'll have a lot more. The NBA Finals will be over. We'll have a lot more baseball. Hopefully, the Yankees will be scoring a lot more by then. Hopefully, the Mets keep losing by some more. And maybe we'll have some training camp stuff. So maybe we'll have some football stuff. I actually hear about some Giants and Jets stuff that we haven't heard at all. So keep following as always, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and X. Keep those followers and likes coming. Until next time, I'm Danny. This is Neil. Signing off.